Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me here in Brussels. This is a great honor for me to be a speaker here after having been a speaker at ECTA. So I'm so pleased that they organize this World Day of Television. And I have to say that I didn't hesitate much to come here because a couple of things. First, because as you mentioned my time at P&G, as an advertiser, I have seen how strong is television to build brands. And also because you see so many conferences about digital, social, mobile, data, and so few about media and TV and radio this afternoon. And if these platforms work, it's because you have TV channels which produce contents and distribute it through Google, Facebook, and the others. So my view on that is that there is a revolution here. I actually, this is my 30 seconds of advertising. I actually wrote a book on this topic a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, which was called TV is Dead, My TV is Born. So it was really about describing the change in TV consumption and the impact it has on advertisers and how we can win in this new world. And here I'm talking to an audience which is largely composed of media agencies, advertisers, and media. And I think we all have to embrace the change. And that's what I'm going to try to present in the next 30 minutes. I've already consumed a couple, so I'll stick to that. So here's the agenda. I won't let you go into it, because then you will have all the content. That would be one slide presentation. And I will rather focus on the two parts of the presentation, just coming back, which is a bit about the context and the evolutions, and not looking into a ball which gives me the future, but giving you my view, my vision about what's going to happen and how we can win in this new environment. So let's start by the context. A lot of data, but let's put it very simply. I won't spend too much time covering the data. You can take pictures, all the rights are available. You can tweet them if it's still allowed here, that's fine. I will just comment what I believe is the most relevant part of the slides you're going to see. So first, a couple of elements to describe where we stand. Number one, TV viewing. Of course, I'm taking French data, but that's fine because it's pretty relevant across the world. So there is no issue in using this data for describing the trend. The trend is, I've seen just briefly in the sneak preview of the movie from ECTA that it's 3 hours 55 per day. Well, in France, it's 4 hours and 2 minutes. 4 hours and 2 minutes, this is plus 49 minutes in 15 years. So, you know what? The more you offer, the more content, the more channels, the more people consume TV. So that's the good news here. And even when you add the catch-up TV, so the TV you watch after the broadcast, the live broadcast, then you get an increase in time of about 7 minutes since we measure the catch-up TV. The second element is, yes, we consume more TV, but not everyone in the same way. So we have to recognize that when you look at 1524, it's only 1 hour and 35 minutes. So the 4 hours average, when you compare it to the 1524, you have a very significant gap. So we have to recognize that. The question, and I don't have yet the answer, is that is the 1524, when they're going to be 2549, still maintain this light consumption of TV, or are they going, like their fathers, to go more consuming TV because of the family viewing that they will have? Still, we wonder that. For sure, everyone is also changing its habit in terms of consumption of TV, which means that multitasking, and that's the numbers you see here, 70% of the 15 plus are multitasking, so they do something else while they watch TV. And it's obviously more, 81% for the 15-24. The other very important element is we are all spending more time on mobile when we watch TV, and it's about 33% of the 15 plus which spend almost an hour during the 4 hours they watch TV with mobile in the hand. So of course, when we look at that, this has an impact on the way we will media plan in the future, or not in the future, actually right now. Last but not least, the time we spend, and that's the 6 minutes on the right there, the time we spent watching in a delinear way TV in other screens with all the options that TV channels now offer to consume content. End of the story on that, just one line that I want to insist on. If you look at all the screens, the mobile, the iPad, your PC, none of them is as social as TV. This is the only screen that you can share with someone else. Because have you shared a video content on a video on a mobile? It's not that convenient. It's much more convenient to do it on a wide screen. So the social dimension of TV is very important for me in the way we work. Now, measurement will be covered in the next presentation, but I just want to mention that there is one part which is not covered in measuring audience, which is the live TV, which we see on large screens in bars or in everywhere else. And you know, this has been increasing, especially when you have live events. So we have a part of the audience which is not yet well measured, where we see Médiamétrie in France investing is looking at 4-screen measurement of audience. It's coming, so we start to see numbers, and it's just happened mid-2016 that we could see on a program like Koh-Lanta how much was watched on other devices. You still see that 99% of the consumption of the program is obviously on the main screen. So, what we can see is that, as I mentioned, the viewing time is increasing thanks to the catch-up TV. And the important thing also is that now, or almost now, in 2017, we will be able to have the GRPs live, provided by all the screens, by quarter, by channel, and on most social demo targets. So that's a big change in the way we can plan, because we were very limited to one screen. We are now 4 screens, and with much more detail and data that we had before. So media planning becomes not media or TV planning, it becomes multi-screen planning. And at Cara, we created already a couple of years ago multi-screen teams, because we have to recognize that consumption of content is truly multi-screen. And the work we do is a selection break by break, but I know also that media channels are now organizing their offers so that we can look at program types like news or channels or targets. So this is a major, I would say, change. Now, I was mentioning digital, and I think it's important. I don't want here to create a polemic, but just let's put the things right. TV, when it's measured, is measured cost per GRP, and it's 100% sure metric. Why I'm saying that? And when you know all the discussions that you have about brand safety, viewability, and fraud, well, when you buy a GRP on TV, you are 100% safe on the context in which you operate. You don't have robots to create impressions. And the ad blocking, the only ad blocking I know is the remote control that ad block, but that's also measured. So it's in a world where you have so much constraint and questions, that's very reassuring. However, if I stop here, you say, well, we live in a fantastic world, TV is fantastic, it's much more consumed, it's safe, and but we have to face reality. And the reality is that the context for TV channels has been changing dramatically. This is source of Canal+ in France, and that's the cost inflation that TV channels occur in France. So the cost of producing content, the taxes, the rights, the competitive environment create a cost inflation for channels. At the same time, because of the fragmentation, because of the competition, because of the arrival also of the digital options for advertiser, the resources, the price per second sold has been decreasing by 39% in 5 years. So that's a massive shift that TV channels and sales house have to face. How to cope with that? A couple of ideas here. The idea or the risk that we see is obviously that when you look at multitasking, and we'll come back on that, I think there are solutions there to that. Multitasking is something that questions attention. And we know that not only creating awareness, but creating engagement is one of the main quality of TV. So multitasking is an opportunity, but is also a danger there. There are various types, and it's sometimes very difficult to measure the effects on the video formats, because I've taken a couple here of the TrueView of YouTube or the InRead of Teads. You have so many formats that difficult to compare. And last point that I wanted to mention here is that we have entered, but this book, which is The Attention Economy, is not, recent. It's 2002. So, already 14 years ago, before the smartphone, before the social, before the multitasking, we were questioning this economy of attention. So obviously, with the description I've made of the change in the environment, we have to question that even more. So we need to take a couple of initiatives and to be innovative in the way we operate in this environment. Here, a couple of ideas. Due to the limited time, I won't enter into all the details of it, but some of them are related to what we call ad switching, so the ability to change an ad format within a screen based on who is watching the television. The geolocalization, so the ability to have a local, and that's not, science fiction. We're talking already about, since October 2016, Orange in France is offering this opportunity as a test to have a different broadcasting based on the geographic area. And a couple of ideas which are coming now into place, which is what we call contextual or context or moment planning. The moment planning is the ability to do real-time advertising. So you have a score of a match and you can do real-time advertising. I think it works in France and it most probably now works also in Belgium. The conditional planning, so based on weather, or you can adjust real-time almost the campaigns you're building. So all of that is part of the response we have to create together to take advantage of this changing environment. So that's time now to talk about what we see outside of this innovation I was mentioning as the main change we can operate and we see operating. I took one example coming from the US, which we know is usually, and when I was at P&G, I usually went to New York very often to see what was happening there, because this is where you usually see the ideas that come to place 5 years later in the rest of the world. So there is one which arrived a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, which is Grace Note. Don't know if you heard about it. It's taking the ability with technology to send a different message depending on which household is receiving the TV signal. So I think we have here a video that, for those who don't know what Grace Note can do, is showing it briefly.
today's demonstration will present ad replacement. We'll be using the video signal of a broadcast in order to identify an ad and replace it with something more appropriate and more targeted, more precise. So here we've got 4 televisions. They all receive the same video signal, but 3 of them represent different demographics. Multi-person household on the left, a female in the household in the middle, and a male on the right. So each are receiving a different advertisement more appropriate to their demographic. What's important with our fingerprinting technology is how precise we are with the recognition. Frame rate accurate allows us to provide a seamless video viewing experience as we move in and out of the TV programming. And we work with our partners NVIDIA and mDialog to decide which ad to replace and how to deliver it to the TV itself.
So this is an example from the US. As you see, technology is ready. One of the questions and the issues we face is regulation and laws. We are advocating in France. You mentioned my role as the president of the Union of Media Agency in France, the equivalent, I think, of the UMA in Belgium. And we are pushing very hard to support TV channels to get the rights to do it. Because right now in France, what you have seen in Grace Note is not allowed by regulation. While you can do many, many things with Google and Facebook, you can't do that, which seems so relevant at the time that people really want to receive a specific and more relevant content than before. So there are a couple of initiatives that have been taken. The SNPTV, which is the syndicate of French TV, is pushing to have targeting advertising coming to television. And this was, for the story, this was blocked for many times, and I have to say to the TV channels here that there was so much resistance because of the fact that TV was sold usually based on the scale they offer, the immediate impact of a TV GRP, and therefore the addressability, the targeting ad was seen as a threat for TV channels. Good news is that TV channels now see an opportunity in targeting and advertising, leveraging the power of the data and the ability to send a different message to a different person, and that has a different value and a superior value than a classic programming and broadcasting. So we see also, and my view is that we're going to see new roles coming. New TV buyers or new TV experts coming into media. 2 types. One talking about the program experts, the knowledge of the media brands, the context for the brands, that's the program experts. And the one that is coming is the programmatic analyst, which is the one that will monitor KPIs and which will enter in the world I'm describing into CPC, cost per video viewed, visit, and so on and so forth. So which are very much now what we see in digital, it's coming to TV. And that's for sure a change that we'll need to see is the kind of people that are coming into these roles will have very different profiles in the very near future. So these new TV buyers, their expertise really very much will be in the live TV events, analyzing what context this will offer to brands. And we know that TV is also evolving, the TV channels are evolving into more live content versus the delinear content that we know is going more through Netflix and other platforms like this one. So these TV experts will be very much complemented by the TV programmer that I was mentioning. For advertisers, there is a couple of changes there. This would require, I would say, almost half an hour, but I've tried to here summarize, if there was one slide to say what, as an advertiser, I should do. First, I should focus on who am I, and that's my own definition there. This is not a quote taken from a book. So the human being, people are defined by who they are and not by what they have or not. And that's related, when you relate that to brands, this is the time for advertisers to focus, when they think about TV, about moment, the right moment. So it's not only about, you very often hear real-time marketing. It's very much about right-time marketing, not only real-time. It's not the pressure of being real-time, it's the pressure of being right. At the right time, with the right context. TV is about context, and you need to find the right context. It's about being geo-localized rather than being national, much more personalized, create more interactivity with the second screens, and make this fusion between media and CRM, which too much is a silo. And the good news is that the world I'm describing is allowing this fusion. Whoops. When you look at the future opportunity for this market about what's coming with programmatic, with what I've described here, of this change and this opportunity, this is, I think massive. We're talking for France about new revenues which could come for the TV channels by using in a smart way the tools I've been mentioning and the programmatic, about 2%, which is about 67 million and almost 100 million in 2020. So there is here, and that's my message of hope, in a world where so many people are questioning the role of TV, I believe that the opportunities offered by the change in behavior and the opportunity of programmatic is just something that we should capture together with the brands and the TV channels. Now, it's time for conclusion. I hope I have not been too fast into that, because I have to say that this is a lot of content to deliver in a limited time. So, as a conclusion, there is a kind of, that's my PNG style. 10 points, that's your next steps if you want. It says by itself, so, in a nutshell, I could do that in only one slide. We have great TV viewing time, which is rising. We are already multi-screen. We are already changing to take the first fruits of programmatic planning. The TV market is rising slowly. The cost per second is decreasing. GRP is still a very sure metric, so don't kill it. But attention value is more and more considered in the future of medium planning. And we need, not only the sales house, I change it, need to be innovative, and they already are with us. Some innovations are already coming to the targeted ad-on TV. We'll need to develop these new TV buyers from the TV house, but also from the side of the media agencies. And advertisers, with the support of the media agency, need to focus on the 8 rules that I've been describing. Net, net, net. All of that should create additional value. So it's not just, we are day of election day in the US, so I'm not, asking for votes here. But I believe there is a fantastic opportunity if we take this change as the time, just the right time, to make this new world of media moment, audience planning, something that we develop together. And I thank you very much for your attention.